Greetings from the Holy Lands. Please enjoy these excerpts of photos and readings from the Holy Land from our laity on this VIM trip. Please stay tuned at the end and we'll let you in on a secret of our next trip coming up. Have a great time.
Primacy, John 21. Later, Jesus himself appeared again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. This is how it happened. Simon Peter, Thomas, called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, Zebedee's sons, and 2 other disciples were together. Simon Peter told them, "I'm going fishing." They said, "We'll go with you." So they set out in a boat, but throughout the night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize it was Jesus. Jesus called to them, "Children, have you caught anything to eat?" They answered him, "No." He said, "Cast your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." So they did, and there were so many fish that they couldn't haul in the net. Then the disciple, whom Jesus loved, said to Peter, "It's the Lord." When Simon Peter heard it was the Lord, he wrapped his coat around himself, for he was naked, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they weren't far from shore, only about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish that you've just caught." Simon Peter got up and pulled the net to shore. It was full of large fish, 153 of them. Yet the net hadn't torn, even with so many fish. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples could bring themselves to ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them. He did the same with the fish. This was now the 3rd time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they finished eating, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" Simon replied, "Yes, Lord, you know I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." Jesus asked a second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was sad that Jesus asked him a 3rd time, "Do you love me?" He replied, "Lord, you know everything. You know I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep."
Multiplication of the loaves and fishes, 5,000, from Luke 9:12 through 17, and also in Matthew 14:13 through 21, Mark 6:31 through 44, John 6:1 through 14, and second, 4,000, Matthew 15:32 through 39, and Mark 8:1 through 9. When the day was almost over, the 12 came to him and said, "Send the crowd away so that they can go to the nearby villages and countryside and find lodging and food, because we are in a deserted place." He replied, "You give them something to eat." But they said, "We have no more than 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, unless we go and buy food for all these people." They said this because about 5,000 men were present. Jesus said to the disciples, "Seat them in groups of about 50. They did so, and everyone was seated. He took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, looked up to the heaven, blessed them, and broke them and gave them to the disciples to set before the crowd. Everyone ate until they were full, and the disciples filled 12 baskets with the leftovers.
Hey, St. Peter's fish, Matthew 17:24 to 27. When they came to Capernaum, the people who collected the half-shekel temple tax came to Peter and said, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes," he said. But when they came into the house, Jesus spoke to Peter first. "What do you think, Simon? From whom do earthly kings collect taxes? From their children or from strangers?" "From strangers," he said. Jesus said to him, "Then the children don't have to pay. But just so we don't offend them, go to the lake, throw out a fishing line and hook, and take the first fish you catch. When you open its mouth, you will find a shekel coin. take it and pay the tax for both of us.
All right. This is the calming of the sea. Luke chapter 8, verses 22 to 25, also in Mark 4, 35, 41, and Matthew 8, 23, 27. One day, Jesus and his disciples boarded a boat. He said to them, "Let's cross over to the other side of the lake." So they set sail. While they were sailing, he fell asleep. Gale force winds swept down on the lake. The boat was filling up with water, and they were in danger. So they went and woke Jesus, shouting, "Master, Master, we're going to drown." But he got up and gave orders to the wind and the violent waves. The storm died down, and it was calm. He said to the disciples, "Where is your faith?" Filled with awe and wonder, they said to each other, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him."
Today on the Sea of Galilee, there was a haze, so you couldn't see across the shore, you couldn't see mountains, and at first it was a disappointment to me. I had hoped for a clear day and hoped I might be able to see the horizon, how big the lake was, but I began to see the haze as a gift, because a story that's been meaningful to me has been Jesus walking on the water, coming to the disciples in the storm, and they thought it was a ghost. The haze let me imagine that story, because there was a time in my life that was very important. So I looked at the haze as a gift, and I looked into it deeply, and in my mind's eye saw Jesus walking on the water, and he was no ghost.
That about wraps it up for today. As I stand here looking over the city of Bethlehem, I pray that you have a blessed week. I look forward to being back with you next Sunday. And if you're interested, if this even looked slightly remotely interesting to you, sparked something within you, next in 2020, in February, I'm looking to take another group with here to the Holy Lands to experience these, what we call the living stones of Christ. So may you have a blessed week, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday.